Hey, how's it? Holoike here. Hey, you know what? I've been noticing since the people of Hawaii, the Kanaka Maole like that, as we getting educated and we learning about what's going on in Hawaii as far as if we are the Kingdom of Hawaii or if we are the 50th state of the United States. So a lot of people asking questions, they're giving their ideas, what they believe, and they're having discussions on Facebooks, even arguments. So I want to do some fact finding over here. I'm going to be asking some people about that. So I know I'm going to see Dr. Keanu Sai. I'm going to ask him some questions. And then I'm going to go around and ask other people. But yeah, I'm going to be asking these guys, these scholars, like that, what is the facts. I'm going to do some fact finding. And I like if everybody be guessing, eh? Okay, I'm going to check them out.
There's a reason why we were led to believe this. It's not our fault. Yeah, so there's a reason we're going to cover that.
Hey, excuse me. Dr. Keanu Sai, how's it? This Holoike, yeah? I know you in the middle of your speaking engagement, but I'd like to ask some questions like, what is the truth? Okay, what is the truth about the status of Hawaii, the Hawaiian Islands? Are we the 50th states of America, or are we a neutral, sovereign country named Kingdom of Hawaii? Okay, so can you answer me? What's the truth?
So the truth is, Hawaii was never part of the United States. It never was. It's not an argument. A joint resolution cannot annex anything. The United States could no more annex Hawaii, a foreign country, by passing a law than it could annex Canada today by passing a law. You can't. Well, you can, but it has no effect. I mean, Congress can pass whatever they want, right? But it's limited to U.S. territory. Now, if I can get you to believe you're in U.S. territory, then you think Congress annexed you. But if you're outside U.S. territory, you're like, Congress can't annex us. But why did I believe this?
Okay, mahalo. Thank you for that one, Dr. Sai. So now, then, if that's a fact, and that is the truth, can you please explain our history? How did we become the Kingdom of Hawaii? How did we get that status in the family of nations? Where did that originate? What's the date? And what's the history? Okay?
What is the history of our country? This is our history. And today is that day that celebrates Hawaii's status as an independent state. So did you know that Hawaii was actually part of the British Empire? So we had internal sovereignty, right? Under Kamehameha I from 1794 until 1843. Internal sovereignty, but external sovereignty was the British. Kamehameha I joined the British Empire. He did. We got the letters to prove it. We even have the acknowledgement of King George IV, right? The records, the evidence is there. What Hawaii needed to do was, in order to get its independence, would it have to get it from everyone in the world, their recognition? You got to get it from Great Britain. Great Britain, Queen Victoria. Now, you folks notice that the Union Jack is in the Hawaiian flag, right? That we weren't a British colony. We're actually part of the British Empire. And we're still in control. Kamehameha I was still king. Our chiefs were still chiefs. Even the kapu was still the kapu while under the British. That was part of the agreement made between Kamehameha I and Captain Vancouver. It's all in the ship logs. That flag still has a Union Jack because that flag was ordered to be created by Kamehameha I in 1816. That's where it came from. Yeah, so it's something to understand. Some guys go, oh, we got to get rid of that Union Jack because we're never a colony. Well, you already made the wrong statement because you're assuming we're a British colony without explaining how we were when we weren't. It's like, oh, just get educated. Then you're going to go, yeah, that flag's pretty cool because it's part of our history. Yeah. So, in 1843, November 28th, Commander III had already dispatched 3 representatives of the Hawaiian Kingdom. Okay? 3 representatives of the Hawaiian Kingdom to pursue recognition as an independent state, meaning external sovereignty, not internal. It's still the kingdom, right? So they traveled to America, Great Britain, and France. Timoteo Ha'alilio, William Richards, and Sir George Simpson. They secured international recognition on November 20, 1843, and this is a joint proclamation signed by Lord Aberdeen, Foreign Affairs Officer of Queen Victoria, and Saint Olier, which is the French ambassador to the Court of London. It says here that both foreign nations have thought it right to engage reciprocally to consider the Sandwich Islands or the Hawaiian Islands as an independent state and never to take possession. That's very explicit, the word independent. But now do you understand that you can be a state without being independent? Because Hawaii was a state. It was running its own system, but it wasn't recognized internationally as being independent, where only Hawaiian law applies. Prior to this, British law can be applied, right? As well as Hawaiian laws, just like New York. Right? And then in 1844, the United States followed up. And this is from Secretary of State John C. Calhoun from the archives. Actually, this document came right over there from that building. And July 6, 1844, it says the actions taken in the Sandwich Islands were regarded by the President as a full recognition on the part of the United States of the independence of the Hawaiian government. So Great Britain, France, and the United States all recognize that only Hawaiian law applies over Hawaiian territory, not American law, not British law, and not French law. Can you see the importance of independence? And that's what Kamehameha III was seeking, explicit recognition of independence, not sovereignty. Because we had sovereignty over our territory, but whether or not that sovereignty over our territory is going to be recognized as being independent of other sovereignties. Well, clearly, Great Britain, France, and the United States recognize the Hawaiian Kingdom as an independent state.
Okay. Mahalo, Dr. Sai. Now I can understand why we are an independent, neutral nation called the Kingdom of Hawaii and how we got that status. Now, can we talk a little bit about the overthrow of the government of the Kingdom of Hawaii? Okay? Because we are still a country in continuity today, but we don't have our Hawaiian Kingdom government. The United States are controlling our government illegally. So I guess that would be a form of usurp. They're usurping our country, which really isn't occupation. So can you talk a little bit about the overthrow of the government and how Minister Stevens claims that he recognized the provisional government here as a de facto government? Okay, mahalo.
That word de facto applies to a government in international law as opposed to a government de jure, or silence J, de jure. Okay? De facto or de jure. So to be a de jure government under international law is to be a lawful government. And if it evolves through constitutional means, it's still de jure. A de facto government is a successful revolution. There's an uprising which effectively overthrew the former entity and has effectively replaced it in fact. That's a de facto government, a successful revolution. Okay? Now there are criteria on when a foreign country who has treaties with Hawaii would recognize an insurgency. You wouldn't at first recognize an insurgency because those insurgents have committed high treason. And if they recognize the insurgency before they succeeded in the overthrow, that's called intervention of the internal affairs of another state. That's a violation of international law. You can only apply recognition of an insurgency when they're successful, meaning they have to be in complete control of governmental machinery, and they must operate with the assent of the people. Then successful, right? So this is on February 15, 1893, Secretary of State Foster, United States Secretary of State, reports to the President on what occurred in January, because they're up there signing a treaty with these insurgents, who supposedly, this guy recognized them as de facto, this minister. So in this dispatch, Foster says, no public recognition was accorded the provisional government by the United States minister until after the Queen's abdication, and when they were in effective possession of the government buildings, the archives, the treasury, the barracks, the police station, and all the potential machinery of the government. Okay, that's the measurement of a successful revolution.
Dr. Sai, what would it have to have been to be considered conquest? What would it have to have taken place?
Control of all governmental machinery and the assent of the people. It took the United States 7 years to accomplish that.
So that would have fallen under conquest as opposed to secession.
Well, a conquest, which is internal, it's like a revolution. Revolution is all internal. It's not an invasion. So like between Mexico and the United States, that's a conquest because that's international law. The United States was fighting against Mexico. So Mexico had to sign a treaty as a condition to end the war by transferring all territory north of the Rio Grande as compensation to the United States for the fight. That was their justification, right? But this is internal, not international. The problem is if the United States ambassador was involved, then that just became international. That's why James Blunt was sent here to determine exactly when did that take place. Because if the US ambassador recognized the provisional government after they're in control of all governmental machinery, then that's fine. But that still poses a problem because Hawaii has government on outer islands. Yeah, we had governors on other islands, which we call mayors today. You know, so it's nonsensical. But what I'm showing you is the U.S. government officials, they knew the rules, and they're talking to each other about the rules to ensure that it was complied with. That's not the Hawaiians talking. This is U.S. government officials talking. They're citing international law. Now, this is interesting. This year, 2016, a descendant of William O. Smith turned over papers that have been in their family for over a century. Yeah. Who's this guy, W.O. Smith? He's a criminal. He served as the Attorney General for that so-called provisional government. He's an insurgent. Yeah. He was also a trustee of Kamehameha Schools. Did you know they named a hall after him, a building, Smith Hall. What is that? Oh no, it's good that we didn't know this, but now we know. Like, oh, he was a criminal. What are we honoring this guy for? Yeah. Charles Reed Bishop, he's actually part of the takeover too. He was funding it. Tom Kaufman does an excellent book on narrative of that in his book. Yeah, Nation Within, the American occupation of Hawaii.
So why is Charles Bishop married?
Why who?
Charles Bishop is
Well, see, now you're asking the right questions. I'm not saying I have the answer. I'm political science. I don't know everything, but I know this stuff. So, what did they find? Well, a friend of ours, Ron Williams, he's a PhD in history from UH. He knows about this, and he saw that as an opportunity, and guess what Ron was doing? Going through all the paperwork. That descendant didn't know what was in the paperwork. They just wanted to provide it for archival research and, you know, give it to the archives. This is what they found, the smoking gun. You notice up here it says United States Legation. January 17, 1893, it says private. Judge Dole. Okay. The only time that, okay, so Minister Stevens recognized the provisional government when they were in control of the government building. The government building is Ali'i'olanihale. They were not in control of the palace. They were not in control of the barracks. They weren't in control of the police station, right? Because that's the only thing that was in Ali'i'olanihale. The only thing that was in Ali'i'olanihale were clerks. And they're claiming we're in control of the government. And the U.S. Marines were put there to protect them from getting arrested for committing treason. So, how does this work out? So here it is, Judge Dole. Judge Doe, I would advise not to make known of my recognition of the de facto provisional government until said government is in possession of the police station. That means you got collusion. And that is from the U.S. ambassador. Stevens, that's him. If James Blanc found that, because he was looking for it, he was going through the records in the legation, couldn't find it, because it was sent to Doe. Doe gave it to his attorney general, who kept it, whose descendant brought it back today. You're supposed to burn that. You ever heard of a shredder? That's incriminating. What that means, okay, what that means, he was directly involved with the takeover. He, right there, is an enemy of the Hawaiian state. And he just tied the United States to it. That's what Blanc was trying to find. Okay? Amazing. So the recent uncovering of the private note by U.S. Minister Stevens is proof of collusion and intervention.
Okay, mahalo, thank you. I liked the fact you took the time out to explain that. So for now, I'm just gonna sit down and listen, and maybe later on I'll ask more questions. But thank you. I'm good for now. Mahalo, Holoike, huio.